Hello and welcome to ET Auto Startup Adda. It is a show that brings innovators, startup founders, experts, and those who are going to drive the future of mobility business. Today we have a very interesting startup. This is one of the, I think, most bullish startups that we have in the electric vehicle space. Let me call and ask him to give his presentation. Suhas Rajkumar is the founder and CEO of Simple Energy. We all heard Simple Energy has some mega plants in electric two-wheeler and also in electric car business. Let's understand from him what he's trying to do and what is his USP. We have seen a number of startups have come up in this space. After Suhas gives his presentation, like every episode, this episode will also have an expert review, and he will join after Suhas' presentation is over. Suhas, over to you.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Nabil. It is pleasure to be here and speak about Simple Energy and its goals. Uh, Hello, everyone. Um, Happy Holi to everyone, belated Holi to everyone who's watching this. So I am founder and CEO of Simple Energy. So we started Simple Energy in 2019 with the goal of achieving a range that probably Activas or Jupiters have in the current scenario. So primarily the idea was to start vertical integrated organization where we develop our own motor controllers, motors, battery packs, etc, because this gives you a power to control the power efficiency, so the powertrain efficiency and everything else that is associated with it. While we understand the architecture of the vehicle is different, it requires just not the attention of the power electronics, but also on the mechanical aspects of it. And we need to develop a certain architecture which fits into the right use case and also brings out the value proposition perfectly to an end consumer who is currently driving all the IC vehicles. So with Simple Energy, we started with a goal of achieving a range of close to 200 kilometers. That was our first initial Mark 1 prototype that we started with a team of 10 members. We achieved that in 1 year time frame with a 4.4 kilowatt hour battery pack when we came out with our first prototype last in 2019. Then we went on to build a team of 50 members. We moved into a 5,000 square feet office and we started developing it to a production phase. We went into a development stage where we raised our first round of $1 million, and we started developing the launch vehicle basis of that. And we added our honorable board members, Mr. Manish Bharti and Raghunath Subramaniam, who are also ex co-founders of UiPath, and they supported us through those periods of seed and angel round. And we could develop a vehicle which was already a launch ready vehicle where we had a USP of 200 kilometers of range. Our BMS was proprietary, our motors were proprietary, and our battery pack itself was proprietary. Then we went ahead and launched it in August 2015, August 15th, 2021. It's called Simple One, which came with a range of 236 IDC conditions with a 203 kilometer on real time, and an amazing figure of 0 to 40 in 2.95 seconds. So this was our feat that we achieved with Simple One. And the One clearly distinguished itself not only on the range part, but on the efficiency and also the vertical integration that has happened in the vehicle itself. So I'll just take 2 minutes to take you all through what we have actually done with our motor packs, motor controller and battery packs. So we are the only company in India to develop its first PCM material to make batteries more safer. Our emphasis on battery pack being safer has been immense since day one, because we feel battery standards and safety standards are two different things. And safety standards in today's battery packs are important, not only for the life cycle, but also for developing a better efficient powertrain. Given the point, you need to pack more energy in a small pack, and scooters are the only form factor which requires larger intensive engineering because of the size that it comes with. So we not only developed a small packaging in terms of 4.8 kilowatt for the space that we have. We also went on to improve our motor controllers and motors, because end of the day the power losses happen in those main streams as well. So our motors come with a 96% efficiency, combined with the motor controller and motor that clocks you a 92%. That's the highest in the industry. With a proprietary schematic and software copyrights that we have on our motor controllers, we went on to develop in the last 2.5 years. So Simple One not only packs with properly verticalated safety standards with it, but also showcases the ability for a startup or for a company like us to showcase that vertical integration and technology is the way forward to developing any kind of form factor, not two-wheelers, and to lay a foundation of R&D in the country. And then we went on to become a 200-member team in last 1 year. We just recently moved into 1 lakh square feet R&D space, which not only gives space for world-class facilities for labs and encourage R&D culture, but also gives opportunity for us to explore and bring in talent for other form factors as well. And that's why we started working on our other two products, which are due next year to launch, which are much more affordable and come with the same power figures that we are talking about in Simple One. And then we move on to become a company which raised India's largest pre-series round for $21 million last year, post our launch. And now we are looking forward to get our 2 lakh square feet factory operational by May and start deliveries in June. So we expect, we have already clocked 50,000 bookings on our Simple One, which goes live in June. So everyone can get a taste of how the performance figures have improved and how the efficiency of the whole overall scooter has improved. And we can't wait to share that excitement with all the people out there who have pre-booked Simple One last year and still are pre-booking. We have seen immense increase in our bookings in the last 15 days, especially after the announcement of our additional battery pack, which gives you a additional comfort of traveling further up to 300 kilometers in IDC conditions, which is a feat in itself for us, and we look forward for that. And apart from
Thank
that,
you.
yeah, thank you so much,
Thank you so much.
Nabil.
So now it's time to bring in. I know that you're excited and understand you have really done some great work. We'll put it to the review of our expert today. Our expert is automobile veteran. He has been heading sales and marketing at Hero MotoCorp, India's largest two-wheeler company. He is now a C-suite leader, global leader, and he has been advising and mentoring a lot of EV startups. He's an EV evangelist. Let me introduce Mr. Ashok Bhasin ji. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhasin, for taking out time and joining us today as an expert. On the face of it, you heard Suhas speak about his plans, his product, and his strategy, and what is unique about Simple Energy products. That also he tried to explain. How do you see this company? What's your thought in the two-wheeler space? Because I know that they are also planning to bring a four-wheeler also, but as of now, they have already launched two-wheeler. So just want to understand your thought on that.
Thank you, Nabil, for having me on the session once again to meet one of the exciting startup founders. I've enjoyed every one of your sessions. And Suhas, nice to see you here as well. I do apologize for some technical reasons. When Suhas began to introduce that they raised $1 million, then for a few minutes we lost connectivity. So I do not know what part of his exciting journey did I miss. But the tail of what you said, I took away. So I'll summarize that. But if there is some critical component that I missed, then you please let me know. You started in 2019 with the goal of meeting, let's say, performance standards from a range perspective of brands that you named. You did not name my ex brands, but that's fine. But I know you were talking about leading scooter brands. And then you said you went into a prototype, and then you've gone into a lakh square foot lab. And you are trying to be vertically integrated on battery pack, motor controller, and everything, both on the mechanical side and the electrical side, because you are driven with your view that you want to be vertically integrated so that you can control things and get them to work in harmony to deliver an output. And then you, from 4.4 kilowatt, you move to 4.8. And now you have lots of pre-bookings, particularly in the last 15 days. You are expecting to deliver through your 2 lakh square feet facility the first scooters around June of 2022. You're also subsequently working on 2 more products, which is same delivery, but at a lower cost. And you now also have an additional pack option, which will give the customer a throughput of 300 kilometers. And that's broadly where you are. And you alluded to bringing in talent, not just for this form factor, but making a laboratory environment so that you can attract talent. You've raised 1 million, you've raised 21, and then that's where you are. Have I missed any critical component of your strategy that you articulated?
Not really, not really. You've heard everything else.
I've heard everything. Wonderful. So first of all, I think I compliment you for two things. First of all, the branding. Since I'm born and brought up in marketing, I think the branding is very good. It's simple and it's energetic because it's simple energy. And I think if you can keep your approach to solving the customer's needs simple, then I wish you good luck. I
Thank
also
you.
like the fact that you are thinking through uh, the critical aspects that touch the consumer. Having sold millions and millions of two-wheelers in my last few years, and now, like Nabil mentioned, working with other EV startup companies, the two biggest factors that impact the adoption of the electric vehicles in the country from a passenger perspective at this point in time, and that also impacts non-passenger segment, is the range. And I think you have articulated your sharp focus on that. I will get into a couple of aspects around that. And the second is affordability. So you can deliver me the range, but you have to deliver it to me at an affordable level. And both those, I think, are important at a promise level. The difference is that the price aspect, once you announce the price, the customer's anxiety can be dealt with because it is a firm factor. But range is something that, in my view, has a psychological carryover. The OEM promising a price and invoicing, customer knows I'm being promised 89,900 plus 10,000, that's my on-road price. Range, customer has not yet developed the conviction that what the OEM promises is what the OEM will deliver. And that is due to a variety of factors, maybe experience with different brands in the market. I want to know, if you are going to deliver superior range, how are you planning to tackle the customer's psychological barrier of trust? Because the customer today does not have full trust. जैसे बोलते हैं 150, ये तो शायद 100 में ही
Sorry there.
दो हो जाएगा. So that is the first question I have for you. Again, the question is not to question your strategy, but the question is to help me and the audience on this important session today understand. And the second piece will come to form factor, affordability, and the leverage of the platform piece. And I'll tell you the third point that I want to touch, which is very important, which is the go to market and aftermarket combination. If you can talk about those three things, but let's deal with the first one first. Nabil, if that works for you, I'll turn it over back to Suhas, let him answer that and help us understand, and then we can have this dialogue going forward. Works?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Suhas.
Go ahead. Suhas.
Great. So amazing question. This is a lot of debated question in the last 4 months, especially given the point how it has turned out. So as you said, there is an idle condition range, then there is road on-road condition range, right? Which you daily do it. So IDC definitely doesn't give you the range. Doesn't give you a real-time understanding of the what exactly the articulated range is going to be, right? So we internally have a controlled environment. Then we have an environment where you are benchmarking particular cities or particular markets, so that you arrive at a particular average range and performance figures, and then you articulate into your powertrain and start tuning it. But having said that, for example, when a company says 150 is your range in IDC condition, there are two variations of it. Either you can have a drop down of 40%, or you can have a drop down of 15% or 25%, right? It varies. It varies based on two factors. One is how efficient is your powertrain, given the point how efficient is your power delivery, and how your current delivers in terms of in efficient ways. Second is how is your performance benchmark. What is your watt hour per kilometer consumption is something that you can control if you're vertically integrated. If you're not vertically integrated, forget about controlling all those form factors or those things. So it is very debatable to different companies, but coming back to purely on a company which develops everything from scratch, right? So, for example, Simple Energy goes out and benchmarks Chennai conditions, where you have a temperature of 35 degrees to 40 degrees, right? Which is nominal, which clearly works out for people. So we start developing a scooter based on those conditions. not based on a condition where we are benchmarking minus degrees or somewhere around 15 degrees. Basis on that, we design our PCMs, we design our battery pack thermal efficiencies, we design our component thermal efficiencies to achieve a certain watt hour per kilometer, right? And then we start programming it and controlling the BMS itself so that you can arrive at a particular range. That is on real condition, I'm saying, where you have a load case of 70 kgs. We are not traveling more than at this speed at eco, and you are benchmarking 50 kmph or max speed. Otherwise, there is one more way of telling it, that the scooter is there, it has no benchmarking, it is developed an average optimum operational of 50 degrees Celsius, and then you start putting it out in the condition where you load it with 150 kgs and you start driving it around and then expect a range of 150. That cannot happen. Real world conditions are always lower than what the ideal conditions are. So it definitely needs to be arranged in terms of that. So what a consumer has to look at is this company which has developed everything in-house and then claiming it to be at that efficiency? What is the integration of the company itself first? Second, the product. Companies like Ather, for that matter, they have a very clearly defined eco mode, and you get a range precisely at 85. So your vehicle dynamics team already knows what your range is going to be. So companies have to be upfront and tell that this is what the range is, because the integration of the vehicle itself is being done such a way that you already know what your range is going to be in optimal conditions, where you define 70 kgs, you define your temperatures, you define everything. But there should be a variation that is supposed to be communicated of 5 to 10% to the consumer, saying that if your load case is above 70 kgs, then it has to be this. If your load case is above 100 kgs, it has to be this. It cannot be a particular number. So we benchmark IDC as a certified number, and we benchmark when we say 203 as an ideal condition where you're traveling at this kgs and this load conditions. Apart from that, we also tell the consumer that if you cross certain variations, you'll have max to max 5 to 10% variation. That's called over disclosing your thing. So you can very well expect a company which claims 200 to give you in any condition nothing below 185. That is where the variation should happen. If it falls below that, I think that is a trust factor, and that is a wrong communication to a consumer, where you have a variation of 25% to 30% in your range in real world, not in IDC. So it has to be questioned basis on two companies. One is your vertically integrated companies which develop everything in-house, and other companies which are CKDs and which don't really have an idea of what powertrain development and things happen. So we are very clear about the fact that 236 is our IDC, 203 is our real world. That's what we have tested on our internal, and we're trying to improve that numbers. But so, so please.
No, finish. Please finish. I'll speak. Yeah, finish.
Yeah, if the load case falls beyond our set conditions, then you can expect a worst case scenario of 190. That's a worst case that can be happening. So variation of 5% is acceptable. Beyond that is not an engineering, it's rather a marketing gimmick.
And your deliveries start in June for the two-wheeler?
Yeah, absolutely, June. Yeah.
And in the first 100 days, how many scooters do you expect to put on the road?
So we are expecting close to 25,000 to 30,000 scooters.
So you're saying 25,000 will be riding on the road in the first 100 days?
Yeah, 3 to 4 months. Yeah, that's our plan. Yeah.
And when do you expect the 50,000 mark? And when do you expect the 100,000 mark?
100,000 in 1 year, 50,000 6 months.
Right. And you're coming just with one model in the beginning, and all of this 50,000 and 100,000 will be one model?
Yeah, absolutely. Our one booking has around 50,000, so we'll be delivering so much itself. Yeah.
Right. And what is the final pricing going to be?
So 110,000 is our ex-showroom price that we have announced pan-India. State-wise, it differs, of course. You can add in your state subsidies there, and it'll reduce.
So the landed cost to the customer will be what, say, in a market like Delhi?
Delhi, the state subsidy, if I'm not wrong, it's 15,000. So it'll be around 95,000 ex-showroom.
And you're planning to start with any one geography, or are you going to go national beginning?
We are planning to go pan-India. That's our strategy, because we have bookings across pan-India. But again, our focus will be on data points, because we have clear data of where the bookings have come in. So our emphasis of production, deliveries, or arranging the things will be for those markets first, and then we'll follow on with other deliveries.
Can you give me a sense of your consumer, the bookings that you've got and the first 25, 50,000 that you're planning to sell? Who are these consumers? I mean, are they urban consumers? Are they semi-urban? Is it their first vehicle? Is it their second vehicle in the family? Is it a replacement of an existing two-wheeler? Who is this consumer that you are targeting and whom you expect to be delivering most of your first 50,000, 100,000, at least the first 25 to 50,000, and then probably
Yeah.
the first 100,000? So
So
geographic situation and also the customer use situation, first time or replacement. And if they are preferring you over any other brand, if you have that understanding, why do you think they're going for your brand versus another brand?
To answer that first question of semi-urban and urban. So it's a blend of it. 80% comes from major cities, of course, because we are more present there. Some of them are from tier two, tier three cities. So it's a blend of them. But most of the age group also is between 25 to 45. That is what we have observed. And they are looking to replace an existing ICE vehicle and not buy electric vehicle maintaining that ICE. So most of them are like that. And preference for a brand happens for two reasons, I would say. One is, of course, quality, and second is the usability, right? You can argue that consumers don't travel beyond certain number, and certain things will happen. But having to understand, if you're trying to replace something, you need to upstage that. You cannot have the same experience and tell, okay, I'm giving you this, you have to buy this because you have to save environment and fuel prices and things like that. No, consumer on an average doesn't want to really think about range, right? And they have to really worry about one thing, that is, their cost, nothing else. So if the cost is reduced, you're taken care of. Range should not be a barrier to adopt to EVs. So this is where we are trying to picture in. And consumers really want a range which competes with ICE vehicles. If you're buying an ICE vehicle of 1 lakh rupee or 1,10,000 or 95,000, it gives you a capability of traveling 200 kilometers on petrol on a full tank. Why not an electric vehicle travel on one charge 200 kilometers? Why depend on a charging infrastructure? Why depend on anything else? Charge at home, travel, come back, and you can do it. If you travel average 40 kilometers a day, 7 days you can last your charge. Sorry, 6 days you can last your charge. So once in a while you have to charge for 3 hours and you're done. You don't really have to worry about a charging station. Everyone has a 15 amp socket in their house and things like that. So this is where consumers are preferring Simple One because of the extra additional capability.
And most of these consumers are, from a gender perspective, these are males, females.
So most of them are, of course, males, because I think families, it's family decision, I would say. So it's very hard for me to distinguish whether it's really males or females. It is a family that is adopting to it. So I don't know the end consumer need till the time we deliver it. So we'll definitely take those data points when we start delivering.
Yeah. So I would just offer a couple of inputs, I think, there. And I also want to understand from a battery swapping perspective how you're thinking about it. I think from a consumer perspective, as you know, that the two significant form factors in two-wheelers are motorcycles and scooters. Motorcycles are predominantly male bought and male used, but the scooters have a significant percentage, which is upwards of 30-35% at least, where the female is the prime user or is an important user. So I would say that as you are thinking through your go-to-market strategy and the product pitching strategy, that's why I wanted to know who has, maybe the bookings are in the male name. I think about it, because they form a dominant component of the two-wheeler form factor, which is what you're entering through. Unless you are planning to take head-on a brand like Splendor in motorcycles straight away, which probably is not the case, because you said your target reference point is other brands of companies like Honda and TVS. You mentioned Activa and Jupiter, and I'm sure you're thinking about Destiny and other brands as well. So think about that factor. And secondly, when you respond, just touch upon the battery swapping aspect. How are you thinking through that? Because that has a critical role to play. And then from there, I want you to touch upon the channel strategy. What would be the channel strategy to sell, and what would be the channel strategy to service? Those are two important aspects. I'll turn it over back to you, Suhas.
Sure. So answering to the think about two-wheelers in divided into two form factors. One is bike and one is scooter. So scooter market could not penetrate as much as Splendor market has, or those lines. If you look at the sale numbers, now it's almost equal, only because of the economics, right? 45 kmph kilometers you can travel in per liter versus 90 kilometers in per liter. So that is a clear difference there. And if you look at bike market, Splendor is the highest selling, right? So it is not that people chose bike over scooter because of a particular form factor. It is because of the economics, right? Today, if you say that a scooter EV has a better economics than a Splendor, people are ready to adopt to it, because for them it is about cost that they're saving. There's nothing that they're getting out of a Splendor or a scooter. It's just the unit economics of first level. Second is, of course, females prefer scooters more than males do, whatever convenience that they bring in. But the first thing has to be that cost of ownership. So it's purely on that. And when we start equaling a Splendor with an EV, you get better economics in EV than a Splendor or any other form factor of bikes in terms of mass market, right? And then this is where it makes more sense for people to adopt to EVs, because their running cost goes down, and they start looking at scooters as a more commuter-friendly vehicle rather than a luxury or a product which they want to really showcase or be proud about. So for me, EV is a commuter vehicle, nothing beyond that, because top performing vehicles, everything else is more of a niche market, and it is associated with certain qualities and taste of it. But commuter is purely based on a cost per kilometer, and that is something that we need to solve, and we are looking to solve it by giving or including.
I can't hear you. I think you pressed the mute button by mistake. Suhas, you can't mute. Are you touching on the battery swapping piece, Suhas?
Your mic went on mute probably, Suhas.
We can see you very well. Say something, Suhas. Say simple.
The simple internet is still becoming very complex. Let's wait for Suhas to join
I can see
in.
him. I can see, and I can see motion because I can see his eyeballs.
Well,
The
try
important
to.
thing I want to hear. The important thing I want to hear from him is how are they thinking about battery swapping, and how are they thinking through channel strategy, both for selling and for after sales. So those are. I think we got Suhas back.
Yeah.
Suhas, can you hear us?
Hi, sorry, I think there's some network issue.
No, go ahead, Suhas. So please proceed from where you left. I think you were talking about the gender piece. I just want to qualify that. I would just say that the scooter also has the big advantage that in a lot of families there is a multi-use. So scooter allows that flexibility. So if it is bought for one member of the family, say the male member, the female member can easily use it. The wife can take it for shopping on a Sunday. The daughter can take it for tuition, and those are the big advantages because it becomes like a multi-use, multi-member product form factor, whereas the motorcycle does not have that much flexibility. But of course, motorcycle has some other advantages, some real and some perceived, and I won't take the audience time on that. I want to hear from you on the battery swapping piece and on the channel strategy piece, channel for selling and channel for servicing. Go ahead, Suhas.
See, battery swapping is something that yeah.
Suhas, we are losing you. Maybe the power of the internet connection is soft, and maybe with Nabil's permission for a couple of minutes, you can go on audio and make your point and then come back on video if Nabil is okay with that. That might be better because if
Yeah,
the signal.
we can request Suhas to come on audio because his power
Yeah, the
it
power of
means
the
that,
internet.
yeah,
Their
looks
battery,
bit
their battery pack is
weak.
not as good as a simple energy
We
speed.
just want to understand from you, how do you see the swapping for two-wheeler? how efficient or how effective is it going to be? Suhas, are you able to hear us? You can keep your camera off and we can probably go on audio only mode.
And we need to unmute Suhas because or is it Shubhangi which is on mute?
Okay, Shubhang. We'll wait for Suhas. Shubhangi is my colleague. She has been
Yeah, I saw
wrongly
that.
brought on stage.
That's fine.
Suhas, we are still trying to get in touch. So let's understand from you, sir. How do you see the
Yeah,
swapping?
I think there's
Okay, Suhas is trying to come in again. So
Go ahead, Suhas.
sorry
Go ahead with the audio.
to the audience. We are sorry for the technical glitch. We are trying to connect with Suhas, and I hope he is trying to get on board. He will join back anytime soon. Suhas, if you could unmute and speak only, you can keep your camera off. So, Ashokji, what's your thought on swapping? Do you think it is a feasible? Because we have different structure in two wheelers when it comes to different kind of two wheelers, different specification, different speed, different brand image. How is it going to work out?
I think there is an interesting dynamics there because, after all, as you know, I always like to start with what does it mean for the consumer. So, what's the consumer problem that we are trying to solve? I think the swapping tries to solve the consumer problem of taking away the range anxiety and taking away the charging infrastructure anxiety, that where will I be able to charge, etc., etc. And it has to combine with the benefit of bringing down the cost of ownership so that you are able to de-link in some cases the product and the battery, the primary product and the battery pack, and then that becomes like battery as a service, etc. So from that standpoint, it has an important role to play. But the important thing to watch out is that as the dynamics of the innovation around the two-wheeler form factor and the battery density and the battery yield, including the power dynamics of the vehicle change, the marginal factor will come down. And then the question will be, how will the swapping strategy justify itself? Because when the range is less, when there is less charging infrastructure, when the cost is high, there is all the reason for swapping. When the range becomes of the product long and the charging infrastructure is no longer a concern and the cost factor comes down, then how does swapping justify itself? However, if it is a multi-use, and there are aspects about battery life, etc., etc., etc. So I think the biggest sustainable factor could be battery as a service, just like fuel is. And if that is handled well from a cost and from a trust perspective and speed perspective, because ultimately, if I have to come and stand in the queue for 45 minutes for getting battery swapping, today there are very few two wheelers and there may be more charging stations. As the park size of two wheelers increases, if it takes me time, then that benefit just goes away. So I think that's a dynamics important to watch. And the other thing is, how will battery swapping evolve itself to other product forms like four wheelers and three wheelers, and maybe some of the larger vehicles as well? It will all be
Yeah.
a combination of the density, the size, the battery chemistry, and all of that stuff. But battery as a service to me is a powerful concept, in which
Okay.
battery swap obviously is, you can't
We'll
have
go
battery as
into.
battery swapping. So that's
So
how I see it.
let's. I think Suhas' connection is back to normal. I'll just ask him to resume from where he left. But we are running out of time. I would request Suhas to be a bit precise and topical to his answer so that we cover up the time we lost. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So coming back to battery swap, it's very clear that it is a model which can work in a smaller state or smaller city or a town, or you can define a boundary to it. But in a country like 140 crores, it's a implementation challenge rather than a what is good, what is not bad challenge. So we are very bullish about the fact that battery swapping can be restricted to a service or B2B kind of models rather than a B2C consumer, a direct to consumer model. We are very much in favor of long range fixed batteries, home charging, and of those sort of models, because two reasons. One, if long range is there, you don't need a battery swapping. It also eliminates the need of charging infrastructure. Second, batteries are safer. Lithium is flammable, so we need to have better battery safety standards to protect lives, because that's something that is going to affect the consumer end of the day. And third, I can control the quality of the scooter precisely, and that's what we look at. And also the last point that I want to add in battery swapping is, as we say, swapping is a 2 minute job, but charging still takes time, right? So what happens when you have 24 people lined up for a 12 swap stations? So 12 people still
Right.
have to wait for some time. So
Right.
primarily it works in a radius, but not for a mass market like India, is what we think, and we are very bullish about it. And we are in favor of long range, and that's the reason Simple One is with 200 kilometers, and it gives you that freedom from charging infrastructure or even swap stations. Charge at home, you can ride home, ride anywhere you want, as long as you want, come back and you can just be happy about it.
So long range battery power, better power, etc. So, and also I think you talked about a couple of points that I touched. I don't know. Talk about the channel strategy quickly. Channel strategy to sell and channel strategy to service. How will it be
Yeah.
similar to or different from the current two-wheeler ICE manufacturers, and how will it be different from or similar to the other EV two-wheeler brands? There is Hero, there is Okinawa, there is Ampere, there is all multiple brands,
So
right? So tell me.
yeah, yeah. So we are in favor of hybrid models. So we are going online, offline both. So our dealers will be our online sale partners as well. So you book it, but you'll get it at the end of the day. If you don't want to go to a showroom and test ride it, you want to book online, you can still have that option. You go to a showroom and buy it from there, you still have an option. Delivery partners are controlled. We have cost control. We don't have to really coordinate with to and fro with multiple partners. Our dealers are our face of the brand. They'll take care of everything else. At your pin codes, we are opening 100 locations next 6 months. That's our plan of action in all the pan India, as we spoke about. Also, we'll have online sales coming in there. Service, of course, if we have dealer points, we'll have service stations. Also, we'll have roadside assistance for all our consumers where the dealership is not at present. So we're gonna cover all those points, just not via online but offline as well, and make our dealers as our brand partners and our heroes who will go down there and represent the brand quality. And the motto that we stand for is customer first, and customer centric product requires a certain kind of experience, because EVs are new and we need to build trust on EVs by giving an excellent service, but at the same time respecting both the industries, offline and online, and having a blend of it and working together. Because end of the day, removing a certain employment and putting in one more system which eradicates a certain kind of system is something that we are not in favor, or we think about it. We want to get two industries, blend and take the best out of those industries, and start doing the channels as per our way of looking at things.
Two quick questions. What is the warranty that you're going to offer to the consumer on the vehicle and on the battery? How many years and how many kilometers?
3 years.
And secondly, what is going to be your margin strategy for the dealer? And last question of the day will be from my side. Give us a picture about the financials. At what level are you on a burn today? And at what level will you break even this business? Will it be at 100,000, 200,000, 300,000? Talk about that a little bit. And finally, uh, what would be your message to the governments of this country? What else can they do to make companies like Simple Energy successful? So you can answer these questions in any order. I think take the warranty question first, because that's very important from a consumer standpoint, both from a battery and from a vehicle perspective.
Yeah, 3 years and unlimited kilometers is what we are claiming, battery and vehicle level both. So 3 years and unlimited kilometers. That's our warranty for the Simple One. Coming back to the burn
On the warranty, any
question.
any repurchase price you're setting, because
So I would say we have.
consumer. Can you hear me? The consumer financing is an issue with two wheelers. It's electric two wheelers and electric three and four wheelers, because the residual value is not giving confidence to the financiers, and finance has a critical role to play. Since we don't have time, I won't ask you on the financing for the consumer strategy. But are you putting like a residual value price? Are you talking about battery second life? Are you talking about a buyback scheme? Some of those things to build the economics, which will also help the financing, which will help consumer penetration.
So yeah, we are looking at a buyback option integration also going forward, because that makes more sense than recycling and rebuying and residual value, deciding a residual value primarily, and that also gives us freedom of economics as well. Coming back to the question of financing, there are multiple banks now open to tie up. We are also tying with multiple banks going forward. We'll announce the list closer to May. And now there's more confidence because they can decide a metric, what the resale value or what the value of the scooter of EV would be. So practically that is solved. And of course, recycling is one of the business that I think OEMs would look at and should look at, because lithium ions are still cells are still recyclable to a greater extent, up to 90%. So that's not a problem at all. So you can recover that, recycle, and get the unit economics into picture. Coming back to the question of economics, burning and not burning. So startups' favorite question, that is. So I would say, yeah, definitely when you're into a new business and when you want to scale faster, you'll have to burn something. But again, our model is on sustainability, and that's the reason vertically integrated is important, because you can control cost. So our costs are very different from what other companies have, and I'll just leave that there, that we are not really burning much, but will eventually will be more sustainable and investor friendly company rather than a burn company.
And what are your future fundraise plans? And what is your message? What would you like the governments and the other people in the environment to do to help companies like you to succeed, either on the manufacturing side or on the subsidy side or on anything? I mean, what would be your dream list? You are doing a lot. You're doing all the vertical integration. What do you want others to do for you?
Yeah. So on the consumer side, I think incentives are something that government can look at, increase the timeline for that, and give more support on that, because scale is yet to achieve, and it'll take at least 2-3 years more for the supply chain to first solve, second to achieve scale, and third for more companies to start analyzing the market itself. Because right now the data points are lacking a lot of informations. They're there, but they're not optimums for us to understand and decide a particular business model or a particular sales model or a particular product model as well. So that is one thing that we are looking forward from the government, to extend the subsidies and give more, or at least look at FAME 3 or maybe more than that, because FAME 2 has come to its expiry date very soon. Apart from that, we request the government, or we look at the government's hope that they include startups also in PLI schemes, and just not biggies out there. So we would want the government to be more startup friendly in terms of PLI schemes and other incentives that are announced for automobile industry, because we feel left out, and that's something that many startups are not qualified, given the point the criteria are very stringent for that. So we are looking at that front very strongly. And also the third thing that we want to highlight is bring in more safety standards for battery packs. That is a need of the hour. And also work with multiple governments across the world on the supply chain front. Give opportunities for MSMEs. Encourage local production, because supply chain is gonna become an issue in EV. It is already one, but it's gonna just go deeper because of demand going up.
What's your market share goal in 2 years? 2 years market share goal?
To be very honest, we are looking at least 20% of it.
20% of all two-wheelers sold, or 20% of all scooters sold, or 20% of just the electric two-wheelers sold?
20% of the electric two-wheelers sold.
Okay. Suhas, great listening to you. I will turn it over back to Nabil to navigate the conversation, and I'm looking to listening to whatever he says.
Thank you so much, Ashokji. It was a wonderful conversation indeed, and Suhas has been very candid and very, open to discuss all aspects. Thank you so much, Suhas. I'll have first question, and I just want to understand. This is your fourth startup in 8 years. What are the things that you would send out a message that the startup founder should not do?
Don't choose a market which is niche.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Plan a lot more. Never believe projections. Economist. Go out there, talk to the consumers, be the consumer first, plan it, and think like a consumer, work like a consumer. And that's the point that will get you to a product which is going to be not only outstanding, but also going to give you the bridge to capture the entire market. Just not be a part of the market, but the market. So
you go on the ground and understand the market, not listen to it.
You can never build a product. Sorry.
Yeah, I have very less time, so I'll try to ask a bit question faster. Last year, when you launched your vehicle in August, right? said around August, you said that you are going to raise about $100 million. Now you have raised only 21 million. What has been the reason? What went wrong or what went right? Why is it at only 21 million? Ashok was talking about burn, but do you have that much of fun to burn? Because look at some of the people in the market right now; they have that much of fun to burn. But do you think
So
this kind of funding will help you the target that you have set for about 20 million units production?
so we again, fundraise is a topic that is something that we have to deal with every day. So we have raised money, just that we have not spoken about it candidly. If you see, 21 million we raised last October, so it's March now. We have already raised enough funds. We just that we didn't want to defocus from the main topic, that simple one, and
What's
focus on
your
this.
total fund right now? How much you have raised and what is your current valuation? At what valuation have you raised?
So we are currently, I don't know if I can disclose the number of
Of
the
course
fund
you
that we.
can. This is a platform where all the investors or all the industry stalwarts watch it. So this is the right place. You're not letting it out to the common people. Yeah.
So we are valued at $200 million, is what I can say. We have raised the funds, but we'll keep it for closer to production. We'll announce how much money we have raised. We have already, as I told you, we have already raised even after 21 million, and valued at 200 million currently, and
So
we are
that's what I
projecting.
want to know. Yeah, how much you have raised and how are you going to utilize these funds? Since you are just 3 years away from launching your first car, traditional players, car manufacturer take at least 2 to 2.5 years to develop and roll out a product. You are a new company. You need to set up entire supply value chain. How will you launch the car in such a short time? Or you have achieved somewhere? Have you walked already some stages? You have cleared about your product in terms of car?
So our first priority is to increase the production capacity of two-wheelers. I am not saying simple one. I'm saying all form factors of two-wheelers. Car, see, there are two ways to understand a car, right? There is a budget segmented car, there's a luxury car, there's performance car, and multiple things. And for a company like us, which has an experience of developing powertrain since last 3 years, we definitely have some side of the platform that we are developing, and rest is the integration that we do with tie-ups and trying to acquire or trying to tie up with multiple companies to get our car out. So it doesn't have to be necessarily that we're developing everything in house. It is in a partnership. It can be a current usage of our current understanding of how the powertrain works. So we are very optimistic about the fact that we're going to launch in next 3 years. But again, as you said, life cycle of a product development is 24 months to 36 months. So that's going to definitely take some time. But as I said, there's always surprises in the kitty, and there's always partnerships. And
So
as a
yes,
company,
so I understand. I'm really impressed with the way you have tried to pan out your plans, the way you are talking about expansion, the way you are talking about volumes. But on the ground, I just want to understand where are the resources and how are you going to put them? You're saying that you may be outsourcing your R&D. Okay, then how will you be competitive? Because outsourcing R&D means you will
no,
not have many things that will be unique to you.
just to correct, outsourcing the R&D is what not I meant. Is not what I meant.
Okay.
R&D doesn't. Its partnership is what I meant. So sometimes
Okay.
sometimes you work with companies which already have it. You just integrate it with yourself to your system, or you develop it yourself. Like most of the time in EVs, you have to develop it yourself because the industry is new and things like that. So precisely saying that, we have an expertise that we are trying to use. Resources, as you asked, we already have strong board members and investors. So even if you don't look out for funds, we still have funds on there. So it depends on what the kind of fundraise we're doing and the fund deployment that we want to do. So currently, for next 12 months, we are still focused on two-wheelers. Back end, of course, every company has its own plans of 10 years and 15 years, and you have program planning teams that start
So,
working on a four-wheeler or a
Suhas,
two-wheeler or any.
also I have another question for you. And I am not talking about Simple Energy. I have seen several startups. Why you have to launch the product at least 10 months in advance before you actually deliver it? You launched your product in August, right? I know about another, a startup that has launched their product. They said that around 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I know one of these startups, and they have not still brought the product on road. Is it the compulsion to bring the investors on board? I'll hear from you. Then I'll ask Ashok ji also to comment on this. First, you.
Really, not really. See, there are companies which do that for investment and things like that. But if you see our last round as well, we had strong investment from our current investors itself. So they participated again. So we we never wanted to launch for raising money or something like that. We want to launch it to showcase what we have done. And we were working on the supply chain, right? We are working on the factory setups and supply chains and trying to sort those issues out. And then be extra careful on the fact that you don't have to break your vehicle down, when the consumer starts using it. So we have to be extra careful and get in more getting more testings on the scooter itself. So that when you give out, consumers say only one thing, that is wow, and nothing else. So we don't want that to and fro. And the industry is seeing some immature activities happening in terms of what happened with a few other brands. So we don't want to be that brand, and we are a new company. We want to be very sure of the product. But I would say two reasons for this is one, we wanted to improve certain areas of the scooter. Second, supply.
Why there was a hurry? You know that your product was not ready. You want to give time to your product,
No.
test it properly, you develop it properly. Then why 10 months in advance? I am somebody, Ashok ji, in traditional, ICE engine, do you expect that today you unveil the price, you launch the product, and you ask them that you will get 10 months later or 11 months later the product? Does it work? And do you think the new set of customers will accept it in EV? What is different in EV? Ashok ji, I'll give you an opportunity to ask. Let me first hear from Ashok ji.
I think the ideal will be to certainly reduce this long period. I think this is too much of a waiting period, is what I would offer. But between long waiting period and delivering a product that has any quality risk, I would say the first priority is delivering the first time right quality to the consumer. Please do not let down your consumer. Deliver
Yeah.
them sacred 100% quality. If because you are learning, you are a startup and you ended up delaying your deliveries, apologize for that, avoid it the next time, don't do it the next time. But between keeping the promise of time and quality, I would choose quality over time. But I don't think you can borrow time again and again from the consumer. First time you borrowed it, I would call it borrowed time, but I don't think you can frequently borrow it. A few days and weeks creating excitement of the concept, etc., is okay, but I don't
But
think such a long gestation
what would
period
be
should
the main reason for such a plan that I will unveil the product, I launch the product much in advance? Why?
I, if I was to generalize, I think it is simply sort of. I think people are not thinking through the whole cycle of development, delivery, and ensuring that there is a pressure on quality adequately. I think some of it is not being bargained for correctly by the thinkers in the respective teams. Also, I think there is a soundbite war. There is a war for funds, there is a war for consumers, but I think there is a bigger war in which I may not say what role media plays, but I think there is a soundbite war. They want to come in the balcony and they want to say what is the biggest thing that they're going to do. Now, it's okay to create excitement, but I think it cannot be unbridled excitement without delivery. So I would encourage that keep the ambition high, keep the sound bites appropriate, but please prioritize performance and delivery over sound bites and let the sound bites follow. Occasionally they can proceed. But so Nabil, I think the crazy thing is just the sound bite war and also lack of thinking. But I think the whole ecosystem will mature. I would
Okay.
like it to mature, but mature with agility. I don't want maturity which reduces speed. I would push for speed, but I would say mature with speed and deliver with speed, but do not compromise the quality, trust, and promise of the consumer. Two-wheeler consumers, Suhas, you will realize it's a lot of their life's earnings. It impacts their life. So please, it is as important as the medicine that they eat. They eat it once in a while. The two-wheeler is everyday life. So please don't
Absolutely.
Yeah.
let them
So
down.
let's hear from Swaz. What has been the reason for this?
Yeah, see, major reason is supply chain, I would say, nothing else apart from that. And companies like us who are actually vertically integrated don't really worry about the product and as much as they worry about supply chain. The only reason I say that is because supply chain is going to become a bottleneck. Even if I deliver 1,000 scooters and still not and then stop delivering after 10,000 or 20,000, there's no point. Rather, solve your supply chain. As he rightly mentioned, it's borrowed time for perfecting a system where the industry itself is new, and the industry is not really 50 years or 100 years old, where you have everything process set up, you have supplies understanding. None of the suppliers understand the demand. None knew that the industry is going to go by 400%. No one knew it, and now everyone's fighting for holding it. Everyone's trying to figure out, how do I match the current demand? So supply needs some time, and you have to give the end suppliers that time to understand and work with the companies to match those things, so that you're streamlined deliveries, and that's how about it. Products are always ready. They're not always about launching something and then not delivering about it. Most of the companies, that the company that you mentioned, which launched 2 years back, I'm sure they're ready. I'm sure they're ready. But the whole point is about supply chain. Today, every company, be a big OEM or a small company, everyone has one common issue: that's supply chain. Nickel prices are shot up. How will you work out your unit economics? You'll have to wait and watch. So these are the issues that EV industry comes with, and rightly, to defend the EV industry, or the companies with us. The point is supply chain, and it needs time. It is a hardware industry which requires a certain kind of methodology and procedures. It is not a software company which can turn around in 24 hours.
I have no doubt. I understand the complexity. I understand that it takes time. I told you honestly that it takes 2 to 3 years for anybody to develop. Okay. So I'm saying, no, take your time. You know the challenges that has been there already. Cathode chemistries, supply chain issue, chip shortage, all these are there. But I just want to understand what is really making you hurry up into going to the public and telling people that I have this product and this is the price. How are you revealing the price if you have not done calculation, if you have not understood the supply chain and everything? Because you have revealed the price also, you are all open to bring the product in the market. So why to wait for 1 year? Or why do you want to advance it? You go and tell them, okay, now you are ready, everything is set, you see your supply chain is smooth. Now you will I have never seen, traditionally it did not happen. Okay, so I just want to understand the strategy behind most of the startups. I know people, it has been tradition in electric vehicle, electric two-wheelers, especially. Most of the startups go to the market at least 2 years, 1.5 years in advance, or even more sometimes.
So just to answer that, see, supply chain doesn't work basis on pricing factor. It works on a supplier can give you 1 lakh units and 2 lakh units, same price, can scale and bring down the price after 10 lakh units. So it's a number of units that he can manufacture in a quarter, or a half year, or a 1 year. And for manufacturing that, he needs to set up a line, and he has 10 different companies standing at his doorstep. When he can only supply one, he has to supply 10. So prices go up. That's again a factor that is short term and not long term. Secondly, it also comes down a picture where how you streamline your production also, right? I can very well deliver tomorrow itself 10,000 vehicles, but what's the point when you cannot deliver more and you cannot deliver quality? That's the point. So it's a question about supply chain streamlining and scalability also.
You already know, you have put out a date like June, you will start launching.
Yeah, we announced it. We announced it way before anyone.
So you announced much in advance. That's what I'm saying. That's okay. A second thing I just want to understand, you have all in a plan in place. I again come back to you and understand how much you have raised right now and how are you going to utilize that. One more question, same question I'm repeating. I did not get the answer. Just want to understand a sense of how and what's your going forward and what is your rightful place 5 years down the line in terms of valuation. Where do you see your company going?
See, I would not comment on a valuation or how the valuation grows for a startup or things like that. Fundraise cannot be a definition for a company's success. It's my clear understanding.
I'm not saying, but you need funds to invest.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be new investors. Our existing investors can fund us whenever we want it to be. Just that, how do you burn yourself, right? It is always about OPEX and CAPEX, right? If you're burning 10 rupees where you have to burn 5 rupees, and you can delay your fund utilization, why not just do that rather than and storing yourself and doing it? Sometimes you need the money, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you need strategy more than funds, right? So this is a question that all the founders need to ask themselves. So the point is, fund raising is an activity which is never ending. Even after you go to IPO, you still keep raising money. So it's a never ending process. So you can never have a cap of valuation, or a cap of how much fund you want. As long as you have strong investors on your board, you don't have to really look out for certain things. So as for us, we are very in a stable condition. We have an opportunity of scaling also. We have an opportunity of developing multiple form factors. That's how our board composition is, and that's how our investor composition is, right? And we were very strategic about and clinical about that. Our fundraise plans have been very, very clear for us since day one, and that's how we developed our company as well. Our
Do
focus
you
primarily.
plan to go public anytime soon?
Not really, not as of yet. I think for before that, for us, first responsibility is delivering the scooter from June, and quality scooter from June, I would say. And our responsibility is consumer first. Everything else can come later on. And once the consumer starts liking a product, anything else for us is an add-on. Nothing else really bothers us apart from that.
Ashokji, your final comment.
No, very good, Suhas. I like the fact that you're approaching an ocean of a market opportunity and not a narrow pond. I like the fact that you're thinking through the vertical integration, but I may just say that at some stage, to accelerate your development, to accelerate your scale, and to leverage the larger ecosystem outside, I would encourage you to think more aggressively about collaboration and bolting on and integrating other people's work rather than doing it all by yourself. I think that's a huge opportunity. Uh, Last but not the least, I think deliver the scooters, get to your 10-20% market share goal, at least in few markets. Uh, I would think that rather than, if your supply side is going to be only 25, 50,000, 100,000, the bookings that you've taken, maybe you need to deal with it. But overall, imagine the critical mass that you will offer per dealer in terms of throughput, etc. Maybe you want to go through a phase strategy. You want to give a critical mass to sell, to install, to deliver, to build the word of mouth, and to the dealer community in a geography. I'm not saying whether you should go with dealer, without dealer, that's a different conversation. But whatever your channel strategy is, I would say prioritize, try to concentrate, deliver well. And as you get scale of supply, as you get scale of manufacturing, as you get maturity of manufacturing processes, expand more markets is my advice. I'm encouraged with how you're thinking about it. I would just say that don't spread 25,000 units thin all over the country. You yourself said we are a country of how many crores? 140 crores. This 25,000 will be very, very small. Although every journey starts with a single step, concentrate it, phase it, go deep, make an impact, get your learnings. No matter how brilliant you and your team are, which you are, you still need the learnings. You still need the vote of the consumer. You still need to see when the rubber meets the road, uh, on the road. That is the real test. So
Yeah,
please
absolutely.
do that. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in three wheelers, and look forward to seeing you in four wheelers, and continuing to hear your progress. And yeah, money will follow. Focus on the consumer, develop the right things, and deliver quality. I can
Yeah,
tell you, if you have 500,000 consumers smiling, actually, even if you have 200,000 consumers smiling, I can
that's
tell you with my experience, with 200,000 consumers smiling in top 10 markets, you will have the world chasing you for money. You will not know what to do with the money. I can tell you
absolutely,
that. I've
absolutely.
sold
That's
enough
it.
two-wheelers in this country, length and width, of all prices, and that's what I would encourage. Don't go thin.
Absolutely.
Go deep in tech,
Absolutely.
but don't go thin in market strategy. Go to market strategy should be phased and concentrated.
Of course, of course.
Because you have chosen to not go for a niche, but you've chosen to go for an ocean. And I would just say that ocean means ocean of the opportunity. You can start with a niche. Maybe EV is a niche, but it's a niche with a headroom, which is total market opportunity, which is large. So do that. Good luck to you and your team and your co-founders and all the 200 people who sit in the 100,000 and 200,000 or 2 lakh facility, right? 2 lakh square foot facility, you said. Maybe like, don't know if that helps.
Thank you so much, Ashokji. Well put, and I'm sure a product and the quality of delivery and customer satisfaction is very important and pertinent for, especially for the startups. So, as before I let you go, I just want to understand one last and final question. 2025 car is still on, or you have some plan change there? or it will happen?
So, so again, coming back to our focus is simple one. Of course, we are exploring multiple form factors. 25 years, we are optimistic about it. But again, as they say, our focus is one step at a time. But we
Okay.
have a site of multiple form factors, and we are aiming for that. So I think that's something I'll keep it with myself. I'll let the time speak, and one is what we are coming with, and I'll be more than happy to see the expressions and the reactions in June when finally deliver our label, and we're excited for the days ahead.
Thank you so much, Ashokji and Suhas, for joining ET Auto Startup Adda, a station for innovation. We exceeded the time today because the conversation was really great and insightful. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. See you next week with another startup founder and expert. Thank you so much. Till then, take care. Goodbye.